The moment we wear it, our spirits lift. It helps us grow strong in body and in mind. As we wear it, we learn patience and respect. The belt system motivates students to strive harder and continue growing. This uniform shapes movement into grace and turns performance into something thrilling. Now, embraced around the world, Taekwondo shares our culture, philosophy, and values with pride and spirit. Though it may seem simple, this uniform holds your passion and your journey. It belongs to Taekwondo. Wear the extraordinary. Be with Taekwondo.
President Lee during a special talk hosted by Arirang TV on Wednesday said culture is by its nature free and promises to nourish Korean culture so that it can thrive in new and bold forms. A pledge in line with his administration's goal of positioning South Korea as one of the world's leading cultural powerhouses. Also joining the chat, K-pop The Next Chapter included the director of KPop Demon Hunters, Maggie Kang, and Twice's Jihyo and Jonghyun, exploring the path ahead for Korean pop culture and K-pop. And they say authenticity is key to K-culture's future. North Korea's Kim Yo-jong says South Korea cannot be a diplomatic counterpart to the North. Seoul's top office says the DE administration's proactive measures are for stability and prosperity for the two Koreas. President Lee Jae-myung, who has long highlighted the borderless power of a culture, appeared on a special Arirang TV program today. He joined industry icons to discuss ways to make Korean culture more global. Our presidential office correspondent Song Yoo-jin starts us off.
Wearing a sky blue jacket instead of his usual dark suit, South Korean President Lee Jae-myung on Wednesday joined a star-studded panel on Arirang TV's special program, K-pop The Next Chapter. The president was joined by Maggie Kang, writer and director of the Netflix hit K-pop Demon Hunters, girl group Twice members Jihyo and Jonghyun, producer RT, and music critic Kim Yo-jong to discuss the future of K-pop and more broadly, the K-culture industry. Reflecting on the global boom in Korean culture, President Lee emphasized that its potential is far from exhausted.
How far do you think South Korea has come as a cultural heavyweight?
지금 우리가 좀 문화가 강한 나라로 향해 들어가고 있죠. 예, 가장 한국적인 것이 가장 세계적인. 우리 자신감을 가져도 된다니까.
For that to happen, the president underscored the need for a solid support system, pointing out that government investment in culture has been lacking for decades.
정말 이런 위대한 작품이나 예술가들이 나온다는 것 자체가 정말 대단하지 않습니까? 그렇죠. 기적에 가깝다고 보실 것 같아요. 정부 입장에서는 정말 길게 보고 문화 산업을 키우되 문화적 토양도 대대적인 투자 지원을 해서 더 많은 사람들이 도전할 수 있게, 학습할 수 있게.
At the same time, he also reaffirmed his administration's principle of supporting without interference.
문화는 자유로움을 본질로 하는데요. 자유로워야 되잖아요. 개성이 있어야 되고 창의적이라야 되고 영혼이 자유로워야 되는데 블랙리스트니 뭐 이래서 감시하고 규제하고 선별하고 이러니까 사실 현장에서 문화예술이 좀 죽어가는 측면도 있는데 이제 자유로운 환경을 만들어주고 물도 많이 줘서 잘 자랄 수 있게 해주고 그 안에서 경쟁해서 또 새로운 영역도 생겨나고
The hour-long program explored ways to further expand the global reach of Korean culture. Panelists suggested creating arena-style performance venues and more opportunities to showcase not only K-pop, but a wider range of genres. Building on this, the Lee administration aims to position South Korea as one of the world's leading cultural powerhouses. 송유진, Arirang News.
So K-pop's future was in the spotlight at Arirang today, with President Lee Jae-myung joining artists and experts to discuss how authenticity and diversity will shape the next chapter of Korean popular culture. Our Pyeongyang has more.
K-pop has proven its global cultural and economic impact, with K-pop Demon Hunters emerging as the latest testament to its power. On Wednesday, Arirang hosted a special talk, K-pop The Next Chapter, bringing together President Lee Jae-myung, Twice's Jiho and Jonghyun, director Maggie Kang, producer RT, and music critic Kim Yo-jong. They were joined by young talents and 100 global fans online who show keen interest in the film's success. Asked why she chose K-pop as the theme for her directorial debut, Kang cited the unique blend of demonology and pop as her inspiration.
I wanted to see a film that showcases Korean culture through animation. The imagery of demons and Korean grim reapers felt unique, something I hadn't really seen in the mainstream. That sense of originality naturally led to the story of Demon Hunters.
Kang added that studios had long been searching for a K-pop-centered film and credited the movie's striking editorial style, bright colors, and bold visuals reminiscent of fashion magazines for the appeal of beloved characters like Derpy, Sassy, and the Saja Boys.
The image of the Grim Reaper is so iconic and cool. That's why I wanted to shoot the final scene almost like a real music video. I wanted to show our culture openly, without hiding anything or adding explanations.
Panelists emphasized the importance of presenting Korean culture authentically, without dilution or over-explanation. Critic Kim Yo-jong underscored authenticity as the key to K-culture's future.
If authenticity and identity are brought into harmony going forward, that alone will be enough.
The discussion also delved into the sustainability of K-pop and challenges the industry must overcome. Twice's Jiho spoke candidly about the need for mental health awareness in idol life.
With a busy schedule and constant attention, there were times when it was challenging. I wish we'd had more opportunities to focus on mental well-being, or some training for it during our trainee days.
Music producer RT pointed to the need for broader artistic diversity and better infrastructure in order to continuously add color to K-pop.
We need more artists across different genres, so there's more to see and hear. We also need more venues where they can perform, and greater media exposure so the public can discover them more easily.
In closing, the panel agreed that K-pop's power lies not only in its idols, but also in its ability to expand and embrace authenticity. With creativity and cultural pride at its core, they noted K-pop is well-positioned to keep evolving and leave a lasting mark in the history of global pop culture. Pyeongyang, Arirang News.
Just as you think that there's no more to talk about the major hit Netflix movie K-pop Demon Hunters, our An Sung-jin took an in-depth look to see what makes the movie so special behind the mere appeal for its catchy songs and a craze for K-pop.
Worldwide hit, global musical sensation, potential goldmine. The craze continues for the K-pop Demon Hunters. From being Netflix's most watched animated film of all time to its Billboard-topping original soundtrack, its monstrous success reflects K-pop's growing influence in the mainstream.
The songs are really nice, and I think that it opened more and more people to K-pop. Like, even my mother watched it. And I think that it's a good opportunity for Korea to open up to the world even.
Scenes with iconic K-pop idol light sticks or fan meetings put the spotlight on Korea's unique fan culture as well. But forget about the mere appeal of K-pop aesthetics. The film embeds a subtle but certain authenticity of Korean culture, offering a pathway into the expansion of Korean content for its global viewers.
I think it was, in the beginning of the movie, it was eating the ramyeon and eating the bibimbap. I think in the plane, that was very culture. I really liked it as well. Made me crave to want to eat Korean food. It's like small exposure, but a very good exposure for them to visit Korea.
Members of the girl group Huntrix all perform with their signature dorige, often worn with the traditional attire to symbolize good fortune and wealth. Ancient fortresses or Namsan Tower, as well as public bathhouses and Haniwon, or traditional Korean medicine clinics, accurately portray the everyday life beyond the niche elements in the entertainment industry. Food like kimbap and ramyeon, as well as Korean dining customs, highlight the details, and the characters bring life to folk art paintings such as taekwondo. Searches related to Korea and Korean food also hiked, with the latter surging up to 75% before the release, making many in the tourism or cosmetics industries expecting an economic boost.
Not only is it very well made, but it's the Korean elements that become interesting and refreshing for Western viewers. With their popularity, these films serve as culture ambassadors, often more effective than government campaigns.
What makes Korean content like the animated film so beloved is the fact that it resonates with local authenticity and intertwines tradition, modern K-pop, and everyday elements, making it relatable in and outside of the country. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Yet another criticism from North Korea on Wednesday, this time decrying the South's peace efforts. While here in Seoul, the president's office clarified its conciliatory overtures toward the North, seeking stability for the two Koreas. Our Moon Hae-ryun has the details.
South Korea's presidential office has responded to North Korea's criticism of its efforts to restore inter-Korean trust, stating that the administration's proactive measures for peace are not intended to appease anyone. On Wednesday, the top office emphasized that the government will leave behind the era of hostility and confrontation and open a new era of peaceful coexistence and shared growth on the Korean peninsula. The Ministry of Unification added that mutual respect between the South and the North is essential to building a Korean peninsula peace that benefits people on both sides. North Korea's Kim Yo-jong, the powerful sister of Kim Jong-un, had earlier launched sharp criticism against President Lee, declaring that South Korea cannot be a diplomatic counterpart to Pyongyang. According to the state-run Korean Central News Agency, Kim convened a meeting with senior foreign ministry officials on Tuesday to convey her brother's foreign policy directives. In her remarks, Kim accused the Lee administration of putting on what she called serious efforts to appear interested in improving inter-Korean ties, but claimed Seoul's confrontational intent remains unchanged. She singled out President Lee's recent comment that small acts of goodwill could rebuild trust between the two Koreas, dismissing it as delusion and a pipe dream. Kim further argued that decades of South Korea's rotten political system show that, whether under conservative or liberal governments, Seoul's stance towards the North has not changed. Kim denounced the ongoing Ulti Freedom Shield joint military exercise with the United States as a rehearsal for invasion, and highlighted a new operational plan, Plan 5022, which he claimed targets North Korea's nuclear and missile capabilities at an early stage. The plan, signed last year to replace Plan 5015, is designed to prepare the allies for potential conflict on the Korean peninsula, reflecting North Korea's more advanced nuclear and missile threats. Kim's remarks come as Pyongyang prepares to convene its Supreme People's Assembly on September 20th, where economic and legal issues are on the agenda, though the possibility of constitutional changes has not been ruled out. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
In other news, the nation's petrochemical industry was once flying and a big part of the nation's exports. Now it only posts losses with only obstacles ahead. So government officials today met to discuss this and how to support Korean firms. Our Kim Do-yeon has this report.
The government is moving to revamp Korea's struggling petrochemical industry. At the Lee Jae-myung administration's first high-level meeting on industrial competitiveness on Wednesday, officials laid out directions for restructuring an industry that once boomed but now struggles.
Despite clear warnings of global oversupply from China and the Middle East, Korea's petrochemical firms expanded capacity during the boom years and missed the window to move into higher value products.
The Deputy Prime Minister also said that the top 10 companies in the industry agreed to cut as much as 3.7 million tons of their naphtha cracking capacity, or NCC, core production facilities. Including this cutting excess capacity, the government has laid out a three-pronged plan with strengthened finances and to cushion local economies and jobs. Support will hinge on three principles: industry-wide restructuring, credible self-help plans, and a full government support package. This comes against the backdrop of the nation's petrochemical industry seeing huge losses in recent years. South Korea's Big Four, Lotte Chemical, LG Chem, Hanwha Solutions, and Kumho Petrochemical earned over 9 trillion won, about $6.7 billion in 2021. But last year, they swung to a loss of nearly 900 billion won, or $650 million. And with first half losses this year already nearing 500 billion won, the industry is on track for even deeper deficit.
If the government deems industry plans sincere, it will step in with timely support, from R&D and competitiveness measures to regulatory relief, financing, and tax breaks. But companies that delay restructuring or try to free ride will be cut off from assistance and dealt with firmly.
Koo underscored that Korea already has a strong precedent, shipbuilding, which staged a dramatic comeback through painful restructuring. If petrochemicals follow that path, he said, the industry too can achieve a powerful resurgence. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
U.S. President Donald Trump pledged a lot of help to Ukraine during his summit with President Volodymyr Zelensky on Monday. But by Tuesday, he made it clear there will be no U.S. troops on the ground in Ukraine, leaving only air support as a possible option. Our Park Hyo-bin reports.
U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday, during an interview with Fox News, gave his assurance that U.S. troops will not be on the ground in Ukraine. Later, the White House doubled down on that during a briefing.
The president has definitively stated U.S. boots will not be on the ground in Ukraine.
That statement was in contrast to remarks made the previous day when he appeared to leave the option on the table during the summit with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
There'll be a lot of help. When it comes to security, there's going to be a lot of help. It's going to be good. They are first line of defense because they're there. They're Europe. But we're going to help them out also. We'll be involved.
Still, Washington indicated that air support could be considered as part of any eventual settlement to end the conflict. Trump, speaking to Fox News, said the U.S. is willing to help, especially probably through the air. The White House said that air support remains possible.
It is an option and a possibility. I won't certainly rule out anything as far as military options that the president has at his disposal. I'll let him do that. I can tell you he's definitively ruled out boots on the ground.
In addition, Trump declared that Ukraine's long-standing ambitions of joining NATO and reclaiming Crimea from Russia were impossible. Russia wants Ukraine to withdraw from Donetsk and Luhansk and to recognize Crimea as Russian territory in exchange for a possible troop pullout. Meanwhile, when U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was asked on Fox News about whether Budapest could be a possible city for the three-way talks, as had been reported, he said that it could be the case, but that the bilateral meeting between Zelensky and Putin needed to happen first. Hungary is among the few European countries Putin could visit without the risk of arrest under an international criminal court warrant, given Prime Minister Viktor Orban's close ties with Moscow. Alongside discussions over a potential summit venue, leaders at the Washington talks on Monday revisited the idea of establishing a Korean-style buffer zone protected by multinational troops, according to EU sources. Park Hyo-bin, Arirang News.
Tensions are escalating between the rival parties in South Korea's National Assembly ahead of Thursday's plenary session, where contentious bills are set to be addressed. For more on the key legislation and what lies ahead this week, we turn to our political correspondent, Shin Ha-young. Welcome back, Ha-young.
Good evening, Tommy.
So, Ha-young, there had been a dispute between the rival parties over this week's plenary session schedule, but that has been adjusted by bipartisan agreement, hasn't it?
You're right. So initially, the ruling Democratic Party had planned to hold plenary sessions from Thursday to Sunday to push ahead with contentious bills that were left unresolved during the July extraordinary session. But the rival parties agreed not to bring up bills on Friday, the day of the main opposition People Power Party convention, and instead add another session next Monday. And the agreement came after the PPP asked National Assembly Speaker Woo Won-sik to delay the sessions until after its convention, while the DP wanted to stick to the original schedule.
Return immediately to a politics of dialogue and communication.
Attempts to spoil the opposition's convention will surely be judged by the people.
Yesterday, Speaker Woo urged both parties to discuss it further, and they later met with him to finalize the changes. And as a result, the contentious bills will be put to a vote during the upcoming plenary sessions, except on Friday, while filibusters will be launched by the PPP against the remaining bills that it argues are being pushed forward without bipartisan agreement.
So, Hwa-young, the schedule has been adjusted. That's good for now, but the rival parties still remain at odds over key bills. What's on the table?
Well, first of all, on Thursday, which is tomorrow, one of the remaining media reform bills aimed at changing how the heads of public broadcasters are appointed, this time targeting NBC, will be put to a vote. And the bill was introduced by the DP during the previous plenary session, but was not voted on as the July extraordinary session came to a close at midnight following a PPP filibuster. And following Thursday's vote, the DP plans to immediately introduce another media reform bill targeting EBS, which is expected to trigger another filibuster by the PPP. And the bill is expected to be put to a vote on Saturday, while the so-called Yellow Envelope Bill and a revision to the Commercial Act are scheduled to be addressed one after another. And the Yellow Envelope Bill is essentially an amendment to labor union laws that limits employer actions against striking union members, including retaliatory measures. And the PPP has repeatedly emphasized that many businesses, both in Korea and abroad, are concerned about the bill, and the government and ruling party should consider revising it rather than forcing it through. Let's hear what the businesses have to say.
That the passage of the Yellow Envelope Act in the National Assembly could affect Korea's reputation as a regional hub for multinational companies.
However, the DP hasn't changed its plan to push the bill through, and President Lee Jae-myung also made it clear that it should meet global standards, showing he's determined to see it passed. Take a listen.
Regarding the Yellow Envelope Act, the president said that there are certain aspects that need to be aligned with those of advanced countries, and workers' rights should meet global standards.
A revision to the Commercial Act aims to strengthen corporate governance transparency and protect minority shareholders' rights, particularly within large corporations. And all these bills are being championed by the DP, while the PPP remains staunchly opposed.
Right, so tensions will be running high throughout the upcoming plenary sessions. But the question is there any chance of bipartisan cooperation, Hwa-young?
Well, the growing tensions between the ruling and opposition parties are evident even outside the plenary sessions. And recently, the party leaders have met at several events but maintained a tense atmosphere. In fact, on Monday, they sat side by side at a memorial service for the late former President Kim Dae-jung, but they neither shook hands nor made eye contact, just staring straight ahead as if the other weren't there. And a similar scene was captured during last Friday's Liberation Day ceremony. And amid all this, with confirmation hearings for education and gender equality ministers still upcoming, tensions between the rival parties are expected to rise. And given the current strain, it may be too early to say whether there will be room for bipartisan cooperation, but it's certainly something to watch as the August sessions unfold.
Indeed. Do keep us posted on the upcoming plenary sessions. Hwa-young, thank you so much for coming in tonight.
My pleasure.
With hot conditions everywhere, heatwave warning areas have been further expanded to some central and northern parts of Gyeongsang-buk-do province today. There were many places where the daytime temperature rose to around 35 degrees Celsius, with Samcheok and Pohang reaching 36 degrees. This heat will continue day and night for the time being. In particular, the daytime temperature in Seoul will rise to 33 degrees on Saturday, which is Cheoseok on the traditional calendar, a season when the heat will go away and a cool autumn will come back. Tomorrow morning, Seoul, Daejeon, Gwangju, and Daegu will start off at 25 degrees. Daily highs will move up to 32 degrees in Seoul and Busan, Daegu and Gyeongju, 35 degrees. Showers are forecast in Gyeonggi-do, northern parts of Gangwon-do, Jeollanam-do, and Gyeongsangnam-do provinces tomorrow. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Dami. For all of us here at Arirang, thanks for watching and good night. Held its first debate over the weekend.
The economy is expected to expand 2.5% this year.
Boosting Korea's ties with its global partners on the sidelines of the Status UN summit.
A massive drone attack on Ukraine overnight on Monday and Tuesday.
Arirang. 도시는 세계와 연결되어 문화를 창조했고 새로운 것을 받아들였다.
함께여서 우리는 더 자유롭고 더 멀리 갈 수 있어.
닫힌 문이 아니라 열린 질문으로.
나에게 A극은
자유,
융합,
국제성,
다양성, 포용,
개발.
신라의 정신이 에이펙 2025로 이어집니다.
Welcome to Within the Frame, where we bring the most pressing issues across the globe into focus. I'm Kim Yo-jong. K-pop Demon Hunters is more than just a global hit. It's a symbol of how far K-pop and Korean culture have come. Fusing K-pop idols with traditional Korean aesthetics, the animated movie has captivated audiences across continents, marking a new chapter in the global K-Con wave. Now, recognizing this cultural shift, Arirang TV aired a special program, K-pop The Next Chapter, to explore where K-pop is headed next. South Korean President Lee Jae-myung made a rare appearance on the broadcast, underscoring the cultural weight of the moment. The presidential office says the program offered a chance to reflect on K-pop's global influence and gather insight for policies that will support Korea's growth as a top 5 soft power leader. And Within the Frame tonight, we dive into what this moment says about the future of Korean culture on the world stage. And for this, we are joined by music critic and ethnomusicologist Kim Yo-jong, who sat down with the president in the program himself. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
And also joining us online is Serebo Seji, Assistant Professor of Korean and East Asian Studies at Busan National University. A big welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start right away. Youngdae, you sat alongside the president today at our special program, of course. Could you explain for our viewers what were the main themes of your discussion? And also, how does President Lee actually view the current K-pop wave?
I don't know what to say. I think I almost forgot everything. First of all, big congratulations to Arirang TV for doing this wonderful show. I think my biggest impression, especially about President Lee Jae-myung, is he's genuinely interested in current situation. Not just K-pop Demon Hunters, but this whole momentum. The rise of K-pop and the whole new phase of K-pop's globalization. And he explained a little detail. I think it's really funny for your president is talking about 설렁탕 and 깍두기, all the, especially food. I don't know why, but the depiction of food, and he really emphasized that it's about the pride, it's about who we are. So let's not just hide our identities. Let's just encourage us and them to promote more Koreanness, through this kind of opportunity. So yeah, overall, he's very attentive. It's a fun, lively conversation with, what are the odds, right? Talking about K-pop as a music critic to president and two members of TWICE. It's unreal, but it was very meaningful conversation.
Right. So it's not really every day that we see the president talking about Korean food and K-pop with experts. So that in itself definitely seems to say a lot. Now, coming off from that broadcast, one line that stood out to me most was when the president actually spoke about confidence, about Korea becoming a true cultural powerhouse. And he said the government plans to actively support that growth. Do you think that vision can actually realistically help drive Korea's culture into the next level?
Well, personally, to be honest, I'm hoping. Nothing is really done until it's actually happening, right? But it's the will. I mean, it's the agenda, it's the interests. I think the overall maybe can be a detailed strategy. It's not really a president's job, but the idea that president is actually on this subject, and he's trying to make a statement through this kind of talk show, saying that we have been kind of lazy about giving attention to this cultural section relatively, but now I think he truly understands the situation. It's time. Momentum is here. We're actually the leader. I think some of the most interesting thing he said about Korean culture is that he said, we're not in this situation. We're kind of leader. We're kind of leading this moment, and we have to be proud of ourselves as Korean. So yeah, I mean that means he understands the situation, and obviously thanks to K-pop Demon Hunters. But Yeah, I hope it's happening, more detail, but it's important for him to know and giving this kind of message to everyone.
Right, so it really showed how the president was genuine and sincere about this momentum moving forward. Now let's shift our focus slightly. So despite blending K-pop idols with traditional Korean elements, K-pop Demon Hunters has struck a chord globally across cultures and many generations. Professor Seji, what made it resonate so widely? Was it, the emotional storytelling, the rich world building, or something deeper than that?
Well, obviously, to be this popular, K-pop Demon Hunters is able to appeal to a heterogeneous audience. That's really important. Young, old, urban, rural, all races and nationalities. And I've heard repeatedly that children are entranced and encourage multiple rewatchings. The basic idea of a fight between good and evil is simple enough even for young children to understand, and there's nothing traumatic in the, fights with the demons, really. However, when you think more deeply about the story, there's so many ways that this has wonderful teaching moments. The demons are actually people who became demons because of selfish, bad decisions. And the demon side of Rumi is literally brought out when she's unable to be truthful about who she really is. So yeah, there's great story, fabulous world building. I think everyone is hoping for a sequel or a prequel, but also the music. Most of the songs in the movie, they sound like K-pop. I mean, dare I say, they actually are K-pop songs. And audiences who hadn't considered listening to K-pop before, they were kind of blindsided by how amazing this music is by being introduced to it in English within this animated film. And, Golden, My Idol, Soda Pop Takedown, these songs they're just great. That's why they're charting so well. These songs are keeping the magic in the movie alive for audiences, and they're bringing new audiences to K-pop, and I'm so thankful for that. Of course, I can't praise the traditional cultural elements enough. I just love the tiger and the bagpipe. But there were also these really small modern cultural details, things like when you put a napkin on the table before you put down your utensils. And these sort of cultural elements, they speak really powerfully to Korean audiences and diasporic Koreans. And a lot of my diasporic Korean friends have commented on how affirming it has felt that a story based on Korean culture has really taken the world by storm.
Right. And speaking of Korean culture, I figured you're wearing a Korean costume over there. I love it, by the way.
Thank you.
Right. Now let's shift to numbers, Youngdae. The song Golden not only topped the Billboard Hot 100, but also claimed the top spot on the UK's official singles chart. So it's, as far as I know, it's the first time in history for a K-pop track that has simultaneously topped both major charts. How do you evaluate this milestone?
By the way, it's so important to have an approval, especially from Professor Seji, who is a Korean expert, because they're so picky, especially when watching, the drama depicting Korean traditional elements. They will tend to be so picky, but they gave an approval because this is so detailed and everything is just so genuine and authentic. That's one thing. Speaking of Golden, many years ago, when I was in Seattle, in my town, every girl, they're singing "Let It Go," like beaming, just
the
making,
lights.
something like that. Singing "Let It Go." Now, this is a new "Let It Go" in new era. Everybody's singing. They're just so eager to sing and upload this song. They just wanted to nail the song, that high note. So the song is popular. The 3 songs from this album, went to the top 10 chart of the Billboard 100, Hot 100. The first 3, songs, OST album on top 10, since 1995. Whitney Houston, I think, is waiting to excel. Trust me, Professor Seji knows that, the movie. Anyway, It's wonderful. I think it's very historic because it's so unique because it's based on Korean culture, but manufactured, produced by, foreign capital, promoted by Netflix and distributed by Netflix as well. But the core is K-pop, done by K-pop producers. So I think it's genuinely a K-pop phenomenon. And it's not just based on some limited size of like the fans or, the, K-pop core fans. It's for everyone, right? So I think the number is definitely important, like the, 2 number ones from 2 different countries, mainstream countries. But I think that cultural significance, new Let It Go in New Era, I think it's more important than just number 1 songs or how many albums, singles were downloaded or streamed.
Of course, I love how you called it the new Let It Go. It really itself
that's my new
slogan.
Slogan. Yeah.
All right. Now, adding another layer to this, global media outlets are focusing now on how a virtual idol operating solely online has made history on these top charts. So, Professor Seji, what enabled such massive popularity in this virtual realm, and what does the rise of virtual idols and K-pop Demon Hunters suggest for the future of K-pop industry?
Well, I think that people are a little misunderstanding what actual virtual idols are. All the singers involved with this production, people like EJ and Kevin Wu and the members of TWICE, they're real people with real skills. They're not promoting live, but at the moment we're in, when you say things like virtual idol, I think people immediately leap to think that an animated face is going to be matched with like an AI voice. And, I think that we have to be careful in the words that we choose, because the singing in K-pop Demon Hunters is not AI. And the virtual idols in K-pop, the biggest virtual success we've had so far is a group called Plave. And they're actually voiced by real people. Their dance motions are captured digitally from the motions of real dancers. And this is very different than a Vocaloid like Hatsune Miku. And so I think when we use the term virtual idols, I think people sometimes leap to thinking about Vocaloids. And virtual idols are different. On the other hand, with a virtual idol, companies don't have to worry about an idol getting caught in a scandal. And virtuality allows a performer to demonstrate their vocal skills and earn money from their art, but they don't have to give up a normal life. Like, they can still go out to dinner without crowds of fans or paparazzi or whatever. On the other hand, the people voicing virtual idols usually have little control over the music and the image of the avatars. And we don't know how well they're treated or paid behind the scenes, especially when no one knows who the real singer is. And it's actually funny because even though virtual idols are meant to be virtual, audiences always want to know who the singers are. And they're attracted to the realness of virtual idols. Last year, Ye-jun, who's one of the members of Plave, actually had to take a break because he got painful vocal cord nodules, and then they just wrote it into what was happening for the virtual idol, even though, a virtual person obviously doesn't get vocal cord issues. So I think that K-pop Demon Hunters has demonstrated a new type of faceless singer strategy that is here to stay. But successful virtual singers, whether we're talking about Huntrix and Saja Boys or Plave, Apoki, Maeve, other virtual idols, they have to be really good at singing, and they also have to create this emotional connection with the audience. And Huntrix made that connection through K-pop Demon Hunters, but making that connection is the largest challenge that all virtual idols will have going forward.
Right. So since this is a big boom nowadays, so it's about time for us to get more focus and have a deeper understanding on the term what virtual idol actually means. Now, let's also touch upon the fandom. So K-pop Demon Hunters is being praised for its seamless integration of interactive fan culture, from dance challenges to cover videos. How much of a role did this participatory fandom play in the film's success, do you think? And do you think it enhanced immersion and global connectivity?
Oh, absolutely. I think one of the differences between pop music and K-pop music is that the K-pop industry is really effective at recruiting fans into the process of promoting and spreading music. And what's more, many of those activities that promote or spread K-pop are actually enjoyable. You're making community, you're meeting people who think like you, you're accomplishing goals. Like, people who are in K-pop fandom very, sincerely, they actually feel like they have a role in that group's success. And so everyone involved with K-pop Demon Hunters, they're all people who understand K-pop fandom, right? And they were aware of how this could contribute to the success of the movie. So yes, the marketing plan for the movie had elements of the marketing plan for a new K-pop release right from the beginning. And that worked really, really absolutely great, partially because when you're watching the movie, you see K-pop fandom happening in the movie. Right? So there's K-pop fandom in the movie of Huntrix and Saja Boys. And so when you yourself upload a cover, it's like you become the animated fan you saw inside of the movie. You are part of the movie now. It's just so charming.
Right, so it's really no longer just watching, it's like creating together and participating in the living culture. Now, Youngdae, let's touch upon some production points. Some people argue that K-pop Demon Hunters are not really qualified to be called K-content because it's produced overseas and its distribution. Do you agree with that?
I don't know. I mean, the meaning of K-content is therefore important. If we define that as a cultural product, like cultural kind of, there's something from the manufacturer, well, it might not be K-content because, it's about who owns the IP, who gets the money, who earns the money. I mean, there are many more important questions and very inconvenient, in that aspect. But culture is much more broader than just cultural product, import, export, something like that. Because, I tend to compare this kind of situation to, the cultural music genre, like hip hop, bossa nova. I mean, I don't know which agency or which person get the most money from the bossa nova phenomenon. Maybe not Brazilian, maybe just American or English people. But when we talk about bossa nova, hip hop, we tend to talk about, the culture of Brazil, let's go to Brazil or something like that, the ghetto culture, African-American culture. I think culture is definitely different from just merely cultural product. So I think that what this K-pop Demon Hunters thing taught us in that aspect is it's just broadening our perspective. Well, money is important, IP, ownership, that's definitely important, but as a result of this amazing success, the whole culture of K-pop, K-culture just, right now is just skyrocketing, and everybody wants to know more about the K-culture, wants to go to Namsan, see the scenery, eating tteokbokki. They used to hate the chewy, the sticky rice thing, but now they're just loving it. So I think it's more important than just how much money we get from it. Who owns the ownership? Yeah.
But so now, as of this point, I must ask. So since you're a music critic yourself, can you tell us what new possibilities did the K-pop Demon Hunters phenomenon actually reveal? And do you think it can now be transitioning from a genre to a global brand, like you've been pointing on?
Well, at this point, K-pop's becoming a kind of template or platform that everybody just participating in, using that as a tool to just enjoy themselves. It's not just cheering for your favorite idol. It's about everything. I mean, being in the K-pop world, know more about this world building, lore, everything about K-pop. Because K-pop keeps providing more and more every day, every year. So I think the one big the implication at this point is that K-pop's becoming way more mainstream, because that's the thing that K-pop world has been, struggling and hoping for last 2 decades, maybe 3 decades, to be able to be part of mainstream culture. But it was hard because cultural barrier, language, ethnicity. But right now, because it is not culturally, the bound thing, K-pop Demon Hunters, they're everywhere. They're everything but nothing at the same time. So it just opens up the whole new possibility of K-pop being a global and a very flexible platform for everyone to be in.
So it has become a wider platform, like Youngdae has said. Now, the ripple effects of this big success are definitely clear. The National Museum of Korea is now seeing record attendance, and its K-pop Demon Hunters merchandise continues to sell out. Professor, how do you see the movie's impact beyond just music?
Well, I think it is important to remember that the National Museum of Korea was already one of the top most visited museums in the world, even before K-pop Demon Hunters. But I was really amazed to hear that the visitors in July this year are actually double the number from July of 2024. And I'm so proud because the museum's absolutely amazing. It's free. It's located in central Seoul. So there are very few barriers for Koreans or tourists who want to access these historical objects and artworks. And as a scholar who's conducted research inside the museum on the Buddhist artifacts there, I cannot praise the museum enough. I absolutely think that the museum gift shop is fabulous. They work really closely with heritage artists to design new products that tap into traditional Korea and tap into their own items that they have in the museum. And this is another example of that. Personally, I always buy anything that the museum gift shop sells with Ilwol Obongdo, which is the painting of the sun and the moon and the 5 peaks. And actually, we see that in K-pop Demon Hunters. It's on the back of the stage in one of the performances. And I also really love the pensive bodhisattva. And I've brought my mom every single tiger and magpie product they have. So next time I go to Seoul, I'm going to get the new derpy tiger products as well. So I'm just a huge fan. The museum's curation is great. The gift shop supports heritage artists. And to me, what is going on right now with K-pop Demon Hunters is proving again, as I have been saying for almost 30 years now, that Korea has so much to offer the world, and the world needs to take a look. And if they go to the museum, they're taking a look at some of the absolutely most amazing artifacts and artworks possible. So I hope they go there, and I hope they explore the rest of the country and more of Korean culture as well.
All right. Thank you for that perfect closing. We'll have to conclude our discussion here at this point. Thank you so much for your time and for your insights tonight, Youngdae.
Thank you.
And of course, Professor Seji, we appreciate it. And that'll be all from us on Within the Frame. Be sure to tune in again next time as we continue to explore the stories that matter. Till then, stay informed and engaged.
We move. Annually, we invest more than 10% of our total revenues in research and development and 15% in the R&D workforce. Main products, pneumatic cylinders, solenoid valves, hydraulic cylinders, air preparation units, and grippers, and all other products are manufactured through systematic management. KCC Precision.